This week I've been thinking a lot about a Britney song. Not Lucky. Everyone's been bringing up Lucky. Everyone's been like, oh my god, look like the situation is just like Lucky she wrote about so long ago. But she has a song on her first album called Born to Make You Happy. And it is like terrifying to listen to today. Like the lyric is literally, I was born to make you happy. And it was off of her first album. It was one of the first songs she ever released. And like, hindsight's 2020, but like, I think that song, go listen to it. I think that song kind of encapsulates what's going on. More than Lucky does. So obviously we're talking about Britney today. It is a terrifying, fucked up situation. I think it's important. So Britney was allowed the word trans to address the court about her conservatorship last week. She asked for it to be public. She asked for her testimony to be public. She asked for a lot of things to become public. So I am putting a link to a Variety article that has a transcript, lightly edited transcript. It says in the description where you can read her whole statement. The recordings of her statement were apparently illegal, so I'm not gonna link any of those. Because New York extradites to, I'm not even in New York, New Jersey extradites to California. So, but this transcript. And I also just want to address, last week in my last video, I spoke about influencers and mental health, and I made a statement in the video. I said that the way we treated Britney in 2008 also affects the way we treat influencers who have very obvious mental health crises today, kind of as a circus act. I did not know she was going to testify in front of the court like a week later. Or not even, because I think it was Wednesday. I posted that video on Monday, and I think her testimony was the next Wednesday. I follow the conservatorship. I'm a fan of Britney. I follow her career. I follow what's happening with this, but I don't follow it close enough to where I know what the court dates are or what's really going on with her. I just keep an eye on it. It's not something that I'm super into. So because it's really sad. I stand by that statement. I do think that some of the factors that affected Britney in 2008 and all other media, young women in the media, young musicians, Paris Hilton, you name it, I think those are still in effect today. And I'll get to it, but I do think we have a really big chance to correct the narratives and to start acting correctly, especially now that we have social media in a very different way than we did in 2008. So I'm going to address just a couple points that she brought up. I think I have like 3, and then I'm going to talk about like what I hope happens to her and how I think that we can help as kind of like just the public that's not involved. And we'll go from there. So I think the number one thing, we're still recording, right? Yeah, we are. The number one thing that I think will get Britney Spears freed from her conservatorship is the statement she said about not being able to take her IUD out and not being able to get married. I don't think that statement's going to free her because of any disability rights argument or any pro-choice argument, which are both arguments that I support. Let me make it clear before I say the thing I'm about to say. I think Britney should absolutely have every right in the world to have another child and get married. Like, she should be able to make choices about her body and her health like that. Like, that's totally something, like, I think that she should be able to do that. I'm very passionate that she should be able to do that. But the reason why that point is going to be the one that gets her free is because of this implicit assumption and bias in the U.S. and the laws from the very beginning of time, truly, but particularly in our laws, there is this bias and assumption that women's purpose is to get married and have children. So that Britney Spears, who is a woman, a pop star, a very famous celebrity, very talented musician and dancer, very passionate about her work, all that stuff, all the other stuff about it being disproportionate to people like her, about her being able to work but not control her life and her finances, none of that will get her out. None of that will get her out. What will get her out is the idea that she's being prevented from fulfilling her one true purpose as a woman, which is to get married and have children. That's what'll get her out. And it won't be like an explicit thing. It's just going to be this implicit thing. And you see this like all the time. I have seen this. Candace Owens, known conservative grifter, Candace Owens was pro Britney getting out of her conservatorship. Why? These are the people that turn around, like look at Megan Thee Stallion and go, she's a whore, right? Like, but you turn around and Britney Spears, who has just as salacious songs and performances as Megan does, and they go, free Britney, right? They're on the side of free Britney. Why? Because of that implicit bias that she's prevented from her one true purpose. And like, I just want to say, women are not put on this earth just to have babies and get married. We are allowed to do whatever we want, whenever we want. But on the other hand, it is also the most natural thing in the world to want to have a partner, to want to have children. Just like it's the most natural thing in the world to not want those things. I just want to make that apparent. So like, it is very obviously a problem, right? And the narrative around the Britney thing isn't going to be about how this happens to disabled people all the time. The disability community and disability activists, right, for disabled people's rights have been taught. I've seen them talk about this, and they're like, this is the reality for a lot of disabled women, where they're put into conservatorships, or not even, they're just forced on birth control and sterilized. Because of this, again, the implicit that a disability is impure, right? Or that we don't want more of that. It's eugenics, really. And then also, like, the pro-choice arguments. Again, Britney should absolutely have the choice of what she does with her reproductive health and her body. If she wants another baby, she should be able to go have another baby. But none of that is going to convince the public or the courts, because the laws are written in a way that are not very pro-choice, and are not very pro-woman, honestly, or pro-disability. It's the laws are written in a way that, like, the argument that will compel courts and everyone is the fact that she wants to have a child and she can't. And then her point in her testimony about her, this is not in the order of things she brought up, by the way. This is just in the order of however I read what I felt came up in my research. The point about working is also a good one. She can't get married. She can't have kids. She can't make her own decisions about her life. But she can perform and work 7 days a week. She can provide money for all of these people, but she can't make any of these decisions. The point she made about how she can direct and choreograph her own stuff, but yet when she objects to a dance move she doesn't want to do, she's said that she's not complying and her medication has changed. Her job, the thing that made her the most money, was her performances. So if she, in her professional opinion, says, I don't want to do this dance move, I'm the one teaching all the choreography, I don't think this is a good idea, and then suddenly you call her therapist, like, that's a problem. If she's competent enough to be on stage and perform, if she's competent enough to be able to teach all this choreography with no one saying anything until you disagree with her, then she's competent enough to be able to get married and drive in the car with her boyfriend and see her friends. She's competent enough to have a say in what type of medicine she takes. And it is actually, like, I really do hope the courts take into account when they're going over this case, they're going over this information. I do hope the courts take into account that there is a lot of money involved with Britney Spears and managing Britney Spears, right? Like, if the doctors say, yeah, maybe she could be on her own, then the doctors don't get paid by the Spears estate anymore, right? If the lawyers say, yeah, okay, then the lawyers don't get paid by Spears estate anymore. And there's a lot of fucking money. One of the things that they're bringing up in the next court date that I keep hearing about is about some media expenses that her father's lawyers put on the conservatorship in the state, that her mother's lawyers are like, why is this here? You know, so I do really think that it is a case of the money, right? And now I just do want to say that, like, I was young in 2006 to 2008. I was young for that media environment. I don't really know how it affected me because it's something that was just there. And something implicit. There wasn't anything that really stood out as like a triggering memory for me, but it was there, and I'm certain that it did affect me. You know what, considering that I don't like to show off my body that much, and I don't like to talk about my personal life on camera, I'm sure that that has something to do with it, right? But, like, I'm wondering, like, I'm thinking back on it, I'm wondering if in 2008, right? Because, like, if you look back on what she did, right? Like, anyone under her circumstances would have freaked out, right? And she didn't do anything. I mean, I was not there, so I can't say there wasn't cause for concern for her, but, like, I wonder if there was a case where she said, I'm cutting off my parents, and then her parents turned around and made it so that she could never cut them off like this, and had to keep going and keep working so that they could mooch off of her and her career and her life. I really wonder if that's the case, because when you think about people that this almost happened to, like Mariah Carey, right? Like, it's always the money. Listen, kids, the lesson for today is that it's always the money. It's always the money. 100% of the time, it's always the money. And then I want to talk about her points about therapy. So also in her testimony, Britney Spears said that she did not believe in therapy, that she believed that it should be taken to God, right? I just want to make it very clear right now. I'm pro therapy. I think therapy does work. I have a therapist. I think everyone should go to therapy. We're all fucked up. Look at the world we live in. Here's the thing, though. I understand where Britney's coming from, because she was probably not afforded client therapist privilege, where the therapist does not tell anybody about what she said, right? If I was in a room with somebody and I knew they were going to go to my parents and tell them everything I said, I wouldn't say anything either. And I have a great relationship with my parents. You know, like, there's just some things you want to keep to yourself. So, like, I understand why. I also understand asking to move it down from 3 days to 1 day a week. And I also just want to note that the situation she's in is weird. It's weird and abnormal, right? So if you're young and you're, like, thinking about therapy and you saw Britney say that and you're like, oh, I don't want that to happen to you, it will not happen to you. Britney's situation is very odd and weird, and it's really, like, the courts, like, I'm not a legal expert, but, like, 13 years for somebody that can work full-time in a very high-demand job, for somebody that can make decisions about choreography and teach other people choreography, like, it's very weird to me. It's very weird to me. And I think that, you know what, like, maybe you get some independent observers. She's going to hate that, but maybe you get some independent observers to observe while she is working. And you know what? If she's competent while she's working, then the independent observers in the court can be like, well, if she can do this, she can probably go see her friends without supervision. The last little thing I want to mention about her testimony, she did bring up Miley Cyrus and Paris Hilton as like cases. My script is over here. As like cases to her, as so for Miley Cyrus, it was that Miley Cyrus started acting a little erratic, but she wasn't put under a conservatorship at all. And then Paris Hilton, so Britney had said that, like, she didn't feel like she would have been believed if she told her story, and part of that was because she didn't believe Paris Hilton when Paris told, I don't know if she meant the documentary or if she meant, like, in the past Britney had told Paris Hilton, or Paris Hilton had told Britney about her school experience. Britney said she didn't believe that, which, you know what, like, okay, but I'm sure that Britney believes it now. Here's the difference between Miley Cyrus and Paris Hilton and Britney Spears. The Hiltons and the Cyruses had money before their daughters had money. The Spears did not have money before their daughters had money. Britney Spears' first music video for Hit Me Baby One More Time, the styling was from Kmart. So they did not have money before their daughter had money. That's the difference. That's why I say it comes down to the money. The other person I also want to bring up about young people, relatively young people in conservatorships, Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes is in a conservatorship because she had a pretty bad manic episode. And they said that they were worried about her blowing all of her money, and so they put her under conservatorship to get her the help that she needs, especially because she wouldn't go get it. But I don't know if you noticed this, Amanda Bynes isn't actively working. as far to my knowledge. And if she is actively working, she's not actively working in the public. So that's also the difference, right? Amanda Bynes, who's also a young celebrity in a conservatorship, she's not being forced into the public eye. So, food for thought. Now, as far as like what the rest of us can do now on social media and media in general, right? I do think that the tabloids, People, US Weekly, you name it, right? I do think they should print retractions. I think they should go back to what they published in the mid 2000s to early 2010s. And I think they should go, we're retracting these articles. It was wrong for us to publish these articles, and we mischaracterized Britney Spears. These were lies. We apologize. Also, Britney, we want to cover the attorney fees for you. Regardless, right? I think us on social media, if we keep making a really big clamor about it and making a movement about it, I think that will convince not the courts, but it could convince some of the lawyers and some of the people involved that maybe there's something wrong. The courts, the reason the court system exists is that so things aren't tried in the court of public opinion. And I do think judges are like touchy about that. But I also think that like she very clearly thinks that she's not getting the best care that she can. She very clearly thinks that there aren't people on her side. I don't think it's a crazy request. Anything that she requested, I don't think is like insane, right? Like she requested to hire her own lawyer, and she said that she wanted to have a public interview with somebody. I hope that she gets both of those things in really soon. I hope that a judge says, you know what, yes, you can get your own attorney, and you know what, yes, I'm gonna override the conservatorship. You can have an interview on TV with anyone you like. And I hope that she can get like a Meghan and Harry, like, I don't know if she wants to do Oprah, but something like that, where she can get on TV, make an interview, and have the conservatorship not have final say over what's in it, and say whatever she wants and make her plead, so that we can hear more of her side of the story. And then also in that way too, right, she can keep the court documents sealed. Her court-appointed attorney said that she wanted to keep her documents sealed. I kind of believe that, and I kind of don't believe that. I do think Britney wants a lot of stuff public, but I don't think Britney wants her medical records and the things she said in therapy public. So I understand her want to keep the court records sealed. I'm going to ask any New York Times people that might see this to not publish her medical records or sealed court records against her will. And as much as I appreciate that the New York Times is pursuing this story, like, I like that. And for as many issues as I have with the New York Times, like, good job, guys. Like, this is the one thing you got right. The rest, like, she doesn't want her medical records public. She wants to do this right. So please don't leak anything to anyone. Like, let's do it right so that the courts don't have more of a reason to push this back on her. I support her 100%. I think it's a very disturbing story. I think it's a very hard-on story. I think that there is a chance to fix conservatorship laws for disabled people, because it's certainly a lot right now, isn't it? It's a lot right now. What else do I want to say? Oh my god, okay. Justin Timberlake tweeted about it, and of course Twitter had a reaction, so that was fun. I'm going to defend Justin a little bit here, only because Britney Spears had posted on Instagram one of her dancing videos to a Justin Timberlake song and tagged him, and it was after the documentary had aired. So I do think that Justin and Britney have had a conversation relatively recently, as in within the year of 2021. Otherwise, she would have never posted about that. And so because they had a conversation relatively recently in the year 2021, I think it's okay that Justin Timberlake tweeted about it, because he had spoken to her beforehand and maybe knew where she was mentally. I also think Justin kind of wants to make it right, which is why, like, I fully believe Justin Timberlake was one of my first boy band crushes, and I have held on to him, and I am still going to continue to hold on to him. I'm sorry, I just can't let it go. That doesn't mean he's done fantastic things. Like, I'm not saying that, like, I'm taking a side. I'm just saying I'm not letting him go. I think Justin might also try to help, whether that be through silent conversations that don't make it to public and shouldn't make it to public, whether that be just, you know what, Britney, like, I'll go and I'll testify. Something like that, you know, or, you know what, Britney, like, I'll sponsor you and say that, you know what, I think you're competent enough to be out of the conservatorship, or something like that. You know, I think he's trying to make it right. I also think he's trying to make it right with Janet, but that's a different story. And his manager, I don't know if y'all saw that, but Justin Timberlake's manager commented on a Janet Jackson Instagram post about, why won't you call Justin back? That was a terrible idea. If you're Justin Timberlake's manager and you watch this, don't do that. Janet does not owe him a call back. Janet does not have to clear his name if she doesn't want to. Neither does Britney. If Britney doesn't want to, if Britney doesn't want Justin's help, if Britney doesn't want to talk to Justin, Britney doesn't have to do that either. I do think all the tabloids should apologize. I do think Perez Hilton should go to jail. I think that Chris Crocker deserves a Medal of Honor from the military. And I just think that her fan base that has been so dedicated about this Free Britney thing, like, they were right. And you know what, to end this video, because this is kind of a short little video, is kind of quick, to end this video, I just want to say, to talk about Britney's fandom, and fandom that knew something was wrong and was fighting because something was wrong and they wanted the right thing to be done. I think that's a lesson in, like, how fandoms know, right? Like, if you're somebody that wants to follow a celebrity very closely, they know, right? So, like, when BTS fans, not to bring my army agenda into things, but when BTS fans are, like, actually they're pretty happy where they are and they're not very controlled, and, like, that stereotype is racist, maybe listen to us occasionally. Anyway, so that's a video. I hope Britney gets her interview. I will continue to follow this. I will not make a video for every court date because they're going to be sealed, so we won't really know. But I hope she gets the peace and freedom that she requests. I hope that we all get the peace and freedom that we request. I love you guys. Socials in the description. The video before this was about influencers and mental health, and before that, I don't remember. There was something before that. Go watch it. Okay, goodbye. I love you. Mwah.